So good afternoon, everyone, again. It's a real pleasure to be with you here. And of course, very warm welcome to our guests from abroad. Thank you guys for joining this conference and taking time to share your thoughts with us. So before we start and dive into our conversation, please, can you briefly introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Maja, and good afternoon, everybody. Nice to be here. Thanks for the invitation. Very glad to be here with you all today. I'm speaking on such an exciting topic like leasing. I'm Alessandro and I did sales for Europe for Marsh. I'm based in Milan. I've been in the industry more than 20 years, over 13 with Marsh. Very nice to be here with you again. Phil?
I'll add to that. It's really always good to come back to Poland. I had the pleasure of setting up our branch here. I always feel welcome, so thank you. This is my 30th year with Toyota. Every job I've done, apart from the first one, hasn't existed. So this is just the latest one that I have to try and find a way forward. We're a broker, but we have an insurer behind us and a cross-shareholding with Toyota going back to the 50s. So it's quite a unique setup. My role is two things. What should we be doing today that we're not? And to be ready for the ever nearer future, particularly around autonomous vehicles and AI.
Okay, last but not least, hopefully, Gavin Purcell, Chief Business Development Officer for CNP Santander Insurance. 26 years in the auto industry, from dealer, OEM, finance company, and now insurance company. So we make the products, Maja sells them into the leasing market, into Poland. We work in 12 markets across Europe. So hopefully with the gentleman here, we'll talk a little bit about what goes on across Europe. And then, yeah, any questions anyone has or any thoughts, we're more than willing to take them. So thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. And our goal for this session is to explore how global innovation trends in leasing and insurance can scale across the border and how we as an industry can learn from our guests abroad what to import in Poland or maybe what to export. And let me actually start with a bit of context from Poland. Regarding the latest annual report from Lease Europe, Poland is now the 5th largest leasing market in Europe, just after UK, Germany, France, and Italy. And what's even more impressive, that's 44% of all company investment in Poland are financed throughout leasing. And that's the highest ratio in whole Europe. And actually, Monica mentioned before at the beginning of our conference that we as an industry in Poland, we financed all the equipment with 110 billion zloty last year in Polish miliardy złotych. So naturally, if leasing is growing that fast in Poland, insurance should follow, right? So today I would like to invite you for this panel to explore and to give us some background around trends and inspirations that we can actually import to Poland. So first question, Phil. You have the background in product innovation Toyota. What's working well today in markets, like European markets or around the world, then we can apply in our leasing and insurance in Poland?
So thank you for the question. When I took on this role, this particular one, we did something called a Genchi Gombutsu. So it's from the Japanese, go to the source. If you're in a factory and something goes wrong, don't make a decision from the office at the top, go to the line and see what's going on. So I spent a lot of time with every single one of our markets trying to understand what's normal, what's possible, and to try and understand what was shareable. I think what you really take away from that is every market is the same, it's just at different stages. So it's not about what's directly transferable today. You can look at the dynamics of the market and see what is relevant to other markets and see what can come across. So an example for the Polish market, traditionally you haven't had very large deductibles or no claims bonus arrangements. So therefore there are some products that really thrive where those exist. So as the market matures and becomes more competitive, you'll find that those tools are used by insurers, and that opens up things like smart insurance, smart repair as a process. So there's not a one-for-one relationship. We're on a journey, and it's just seeing what the most relevant things at the time.
I think if I can add to that, Phil, smart insurance, the one area of growth that we've seen in a couple of markets, and it's still growing, started in the US, UK, is smart. So small, medium accident repair technology, especially relevant, I think, for leasing, because it really does look after that asset while it's in the end customer's usage. They stay in love with the vehicle. So when you come to the end of that lease, you're coming to an end of a lease with a car that hopefully is in a lot better condition, protecting the casco insurance as well. So definitely smart is something that we see some great opportunities.
You have a happier customer, a better return vehicle, better customer experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with what you just said. And to expand that concept, I think that also beyond smart, everything that is related to micro products and add-on products that can increase the value to customers is something that we should look at. And some products of these are already existing, some are coming to markets. I'm thinking about small products like key protection, like micro-personal cyber, for example, because vehicles are getting more and more connected. So this is also an angle that is interesting for us to explore. Everything that it's not just a standalone product, but is a value added to customer and can be packaged on large scale. I think this is a trend we're seeing across Europe and could be imported to Poland at some stage.
Alessandro, I would like to stay with you for the second question. Can you give us an example of very successful models around Europe regarding embedded insurance or?
Sure. Thank you for the question. And when it comes to successful model, for me, it's about point of sale engagement first. And this is pivotal because we all know that our products are not really only bought, but are sold by someone. So normally we have a dealer selling our product, and the way the dealer is incentivized, the way the dealer is trained, informed, has access to an easy technology to rate what buying the product is a pivotal element about the success of the process. Because when we are in leasing, we face competition, we face open market competition, and we face also other player competition within the same dealer. So that's where training and tools can really come to hand to support point of sales engagement. I would say on a second note, and we touched it before, it's product differentiation. So how to make something different at level of product that you cannot find in open market. And I think that, for example, in Toyota, there are great cases of this example, Santander as well. That's about creating a difference and convince the customer to purchase in this particular point of sale rather than in open market offering competitive advantages.
Yeah, so I'd add on to that and sort of maybe turn the question around a little bit. So what is successful? It really depends on where you're sitting. When the Titanic went down, the lobster was pretty happy. So as an insurer, I could be really happy, but as an OEM, I may not be. We have different definition of what is a good customer. So some of the really successful schemes where you sell lots of insurance doesn't mean the insurer is happy in the end. It may lead to lots of returns for repair, nice commissions for the dealer, but if the insurer is losing money, it's not sustainable. So it has to be a much more balanced approach. And I'd say within Toyota, we're not there, but being able to sit at the table and share each other's P&L, at least from a discussion point of view, makes it a lot more sustainable long term.
Just one to add. I think apart from us up here, people don't get too excited about insurance. Yeah. So you've got to make it easy. You've got to make it simple, and you've got to make it relevant to the sales process and to the leasing process and the leasing that's behind it. I think we keep it simple. We use the tools, as Alessandro said, and people understand the products through the training. That's when it works.
Gavin, actually I have another question for you. You have background in bank assurance, right? So do you think that partnerships or captives between banks, leasing and insurers are the future, or you will see the more fragmented market?
So the honest answer, between friends in this room, I think that the captive model is definitely the way forward. Regulatory pressures make revenue sharing more difficult, make it more complex. So I think then the captive models, and then back to what Phil said, is sharing and understanding all of the pieces within the jigsaw is what makes it work. And hopefully what we try and do is, as a captive insurer, is we understand that it's not just our revenue. We need to then work on all of the parts, the linkages within the chain. That's when it works. So for me, yeah, captive, but keep it simple.
Adding to that, I think that I totally agree with you. Captives are getting momentum, and for some good reason. Captives are also getting much more accessible to a wider group of potential players. And it's a very good way to get revenue sharing and to participate to risk, because it's well envisioned from carriers. The reason is because someone is willing to take a part of that risk, so they're willing to play ball with the main player. And second is because, and you touch on it, we're getting from EIOPA an increasing pressure on commission level. And normally when we have products attached to leasing, commission level are pretty large, especially if we look into some PPI or CPI products. Getting a share of the risk is another way for a player to build an alternative revenue stream and making profits without that being necessarily a direct impact on customer commission. So I think that the trend is going to continue and evolve over time. Phil, what's your view?
So if we take a longer-term view, in the end, mobility is probably some sort of funded insured asset as a service. You as a customer will just push a button, or maybe your wearable will already have communicated what you need. And therefore, the decision on which lease, which insurance, goes away from the individual and becomes much more part of the ecosystem, and therefore you have to work together. Now that's some time away, but there will be use cases more quickly. Autonomous vehicles will be legal in the UK June next year for a pilot, so we're not long time away. To give you a more up-to-date example, we bought a telematics company in the UK to understand the connected world. That, as a business, is now a 2 million policy business in Japan. We learned from doing that. So we do investments to understand this coming forward. What we did learn from that telematic data is what's risky driving, what's not risky driving. We sell hybrid vehicles. Hybrid vehicles are a battery and an ICE, a petrol. And there's a good proxy. If you're driving on the battery, you have to drive sensibly. As soon as you start accelerating, the ICE engine comes in. So we have a policy using OEM data, feeding back through the customer's app, and encouraging the customer to drive on the battery and not on the ICE. In Italy, the extreme version, it's free if you're on battery, and it costs if it's on ICE. In other markets, it leads to a discount in the following year. But it's the very clear, very simple, and that comes from having data from the OEM. The customer understands it's related to their behavior. It goes through the OEM communication channel, and we write the insurance policy on that basis.
And being Italian, I can tell you, Italian loves that product. We also drive very fast, so we don't necessarily use that part, but we love the product indeed.
Yeah, let's stay with telematics discussion. I know, Alessandro, that you have a lot of successful models in Italy. Can you give us an example of how telematics change the ecosystem in Italy?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. Thank you, because telematics in Italy was started out of necessity. So we had the part of the country where, for motor insurance, we register a very high moral hazard. That was in the south part of the country. So, we had an increasing number of fake crash that we need to manage. So price for a motor third-party liability was becoming very, very expensive. That's when telematics proposed a solution there, because you can monitor cars and you can, understand if that crash happened or not. We were able to decrease the frequency of a client just overnight, put in telematics. This was a very recognizable delivery service. And basically, there were people claiming to get crashed from that vehicle, and that vehicle was not even there. Now, without telematics, you get into a dispute, and you were always paying the claims. With telematics, you can prove that at that time, the vehicle was in another city. So we immediately get a decrease there. And that's the story how it started. But what it became an opportunity for us. because building experience on telematic is building experience also on driving behavior. So there is a totally different topic. This is what you can do or cannot do according to the GDPR. But imagine you get a pretty wide consent, and maybe telematic directly fit into vehicle, such like a main player like Toyota are already doing since years. That's where you can unlock data, and you could get to a different level of insurance. We always say, insurance, and forgive me for that, insurance are predicting the future looking at the rear window. That's what we're saying. But with telematics, you have the ability of building different models. And I think, for example, in both your organization, you're pretty advanced on that. So you might want to expand there.
Yeah, we could do a whole conference on telematics and the learnings from it. Our initial experience was on young drivers, and the basic principle was a young driver would pay £3,000. You can do that in zloty, 15,000 zloty. But there are some drivers that 1,000, 5,000 zloty would be okay. How do you know who they are? So they have to prove it to you. The other thing telematics does, it lets you change the risk having written it by communicating back. But you have to be specific. You sped, where, here, when, then. And that's why it has to be this feedback loop. What you end up with, though, is people, once they've realized that the cost of the box and the cheaper premium is not as much as it is as they get more mature, they're happy to go elsewhere. And technology costs money. So, in the main market, is it the right way to put a box afterwards? You have to have some big brother telling you that. And that's where it fits very well in the fleet world, where you want to manage your risk. And that as an employment contract fits very well. As an individual, you need to simplify the product and make it much more customer focused. I gave the Italian example. There has to be something in for the customer, a benefit. One story, we had a young driver. They came off the road, 2 o'clock in the morning. The car turned upside down. We phoned them, no answer. We phoned the emergency services, we had a protocol. The emergency services turned up, took him to the hospital. He would have died if it wasn't for this. Next year, insurance premium, and he went somewhere else because it was cheaper. So, getting the proposition right isn't always the easiest thing.
Gavin, we talked about telematics, but what about subscription models? Do you have any nice examples to share?
So within my world, within the Santander world across Europe, subscription models, probably, as the room would know here, no, we don't. But what we use insurance and what we're developing is how we can use insurance to make the leasing more flexible. So make a longer term lease product more flexible to work more like a subscription. I'll give an example, life events. A lot of customers can think leasing can be very constrictive, very tight. I'm a little bit worried what's going to happen 3 years' time. I don't know what's going to happen in 3 months' time. So we've developed insurance products based on life events. You change your job, you change your family circumstances, change, have children, get married, get divorced, positive or negative, depends. It allows us to then insure that event and then change the leasing. So in the same way as subscription, shorter term, a lot more flexible, that's how we can use insurance. That's the way we've started to develop it.
Staying with you, Gavin, I would like to ask one more question, but about different topic, regulations. Do you think the European market, and especially Poland, that we are prepared for the regulation in 2035?
So I think Poland is definitely more advanced than the many other markets. Again, a good thing and a bad thing, but I think definitely an opportunity. So with regulation comes advancement in tools, like Alessandro said, in digital, in the understanding of the products, and it makes us as insurers work harder. So we've got to get to the customer value targets that are defined. Bank assurance is going to be expanded within Poland. So we've got to work harder to make our products work. Then we've got to make sure that as they're sold, whether it's in leasing, finance, etc., they've got to be sold properly. Customers have got to understand that they've got them. They've got to understand how they work. So I think from our perspective, regulation, definitely a good thing. You've got to have the tools, you've got to have a joined-up approach, again, with all of the distribution partners to be able to say that we want to do it, we want to do it well for a long-term, sustainable product. So Yeah.
Well, in Poland is definitely a very regulated market, so it's a challenging one from many perspectives. But you know, regulation is increasing everywhere in Europe for a very simple reason: customer protection. So we want the customer to be more informed. We want to have fair value. We want the commission to be reasonable on products. So indeed, there is a movement across Europe to increase regulation. Now, the good side for Poland is that having already such a strict regulation, you're already prepared for that. And you know, it might look like not an advantage today, but it would become an advantage. We had some, I would say, important changes over the year. I will mention one. In 2023 in Germany, it became effective in a European Court of Justice ruling about group policy. So basically, up to that moment, if you are a policyholder of a group policy, you can distribute insurance without being an intermediary. Now, the new ruling qualified that as intermediation, and that's, you know, going into customer protection. In Poland, in Italy, it was already like that before, but Europe is getting towards more regulated environment when it comes to insurance. And to Gavin's point, that's not necessarily negative. It's just something that we all as distributors need to cope with.
So are regulations an opportunity or a barrier? Phil, what do you think?
So 30 years, I used to sell PPI to customers 30 years ago. I missed one, and I still know that to this day. The regulation is a different world now, and it's a good thing because it makes the product much more customer focused, much more sustainable. All parties understand what a good product looks like. And EIOPA are pushing this customer value as a KPI. What percentage of the premium ends up back with the customer? It's a really good KPI for the sustainability of insurance. I would say, you know, as the Polish market, you have a big advantage from a regulatory point of view. You don't have IPT, insurance premium tax.
Yeah.
It's VAT on your insurance premium, typically aligned with VAT, 19, 20%. Now that gives you, from an insurance perspective, a cheaper product. So, you know, regulation isn't always less elsewhere. You're in a good position on that basis. What would happen if you had IPT? You end up with self-insurance on fleets because they decide to repair the cars themselves. The repair is plus VAT, reclaimable. IPT is not reclaimable. So it's one of those sunk costs. You currently benefit from that, so it's a good position.
To sum up, we have 3 minutes. So I propose you like a fire chat questions. Should Poland import insurance models from abroad? Yes or no?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Again, look at the journey, look where you are, and adopt what is going to fit as you move forward.
So I would say yes, but import it, but then make it work for Poland. Don't just import it and expect it to work the same as it works in Germany, etc. It's got to be specific.
I agree with that as well. Import, yes, more on product than on models, because models are very localized, but fit into local markets and local needs.
All right, second question. Name one idea or insurance product you could immediately recommend for Polish market.
Micro products.
Micro product.
All the one you can think of.
Phil?
B2C cyber, the car is ever connected, it plugs into the house. There are lots of risks there that it's unsure what's going to be covered. Number plate cloning, payment, the banks are pushing back on mispayment stuff. There's a whole load of benefits there.
Mentioned it earlier, smart insurance. So small, medium repair technology protects the insurers, protects the customer, protects the leasing company as well. Repair redirection back into the network to dealers, etc. So it works for everyone.
All right, and the last question is like, what's one common mistake that countries make that are trying to copy international models? Do you know any mistakes that maybe, I don't know, Toyota made? You will not say, I guess.
So I won't make it Toyota specific, but I've seen this several times, investing in the technology before getting the customer proposition right.
All right.
There has to be value and business case before you invest in the channel.
I'm fully with that. Finding a solution for a problem that does not exist. That's a very common thing that might happen because, you know, Europe is very diverse from country to country, and some country might have an issue that is not present in the other, and we normally try to solve with technology. When you don't have an issue, you're finding a solution for no problem. That's we should absolutely avoid.
I would just say, complexity. Adding complexity where it's not needed. Adding, solving a problem where there isn't a problem would be the simple way to put it for me.
All right, thank you guys for this panel. Do we have any questions from the audience? There's a question.
We should give me a microphone, I think.
Hi, Robert Meriski, Czaudotek z Polas. I have a question. We know that average year, I'll just, write down the question because, English there is very, difficult language. That is why I have to prepare myself before. Okay, we know that average year of vehicle in Poland is 13 years old, more or less. Every year, about 1 million of the cars, used cars, are imported from abroad. And my question is, so many people are looking for the ways how to finance such a purchase. I wanted to ask what the future holds for used car leasing. What do you think about it?
Oh, that's a tough question.
I know it's
prepared.
not simple, not simple.
Well, maybe let me start off with that, and then you're more expert than I am. But, I think that that's a very important topic because second-hand cars, it's a market that is growing everywhere. And, with a bit of longer delivery period on new cars that is occurring globally, second-hand is getting momentum. So I'm absolutely thinking that the second-hand car, maybe not when it's 13 years old, but when it's 3-4 years old, needs to be fully serviced as a new one in terms of insurance, financing, leasing solution. So that's a big opportunity for us all.
Thank you for giving me time to think. So, a couple of the areas we're looking at. So Toyota has a unique approach to warranty. So you get 3 years manufacturer's warranty, comes from Japan. And then we have something called Relax. So when you have another year's service, you get another year's warranty. Either as a very low cost or given away. And it goes up to 10 years, 15 years in some markets. So that's a recognition those customers are of value as long as they're loyal. The second thing is we're very much focused on trying to find solutions for what we call UIO, units in operation. Because as a finance company, as an insurance company, we are really focused on selling that new car. And if we miss the customer, we often don't talk to them until they buy another car. And that group of people grow and grow and grow over time, and they have other needs, other requirements, things that aren't relevant when they buy the car, things like travel insurance, cyber, warranty. And so therefore, trying to find products for those customers, and that I'm talking to my colleagues in the finance company to say, how about P2P lending, that type of stuff, in order to fund those vehicles. The final thing I'll say is regulation towards genuine used parts is ever getting closer. In Sweden, it's quite mature, and the best access to used parts is through your own customers' end of life of vehicles as an insurer. So if you're writing those cars off through economic value, you have the opportunity to take those parts, bring them back into the market and use them to repair other cars that are there. So it's a maturing area, and it's something I'm definitely championing within the business.
So I would say very quickly, because I can see a man over there wanting us off stage, is yes, used car leasing. How do you ascertain the quality of the used car and at the start of the lease? Is there a part for insurance on that? And then throughout, service-activated warranties, as Phil said, throughout. And then is there a part for insurance in residual values, etc.? So from an insurance perspective, it's definitely interesting. I think you've got to get the leasing part right, and then the insurance part can definitely follow. So, thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you for the questions, and thank you guys for joining me this panel.